Hello everyone, my name is AndrewAJT, and today we are back with another Pking video. There's a few things I want to cover in this video because it's been a while since my last Pking video, namely the lack of activity in the wilderness recently. Sometimes when I go to the wilderness now, it feels like I'm the only one there. There's not a lot of PKers and there's not a lot of PVMers. So really it's hard to find clips because I can spend 40 minutes just running around the wilderness and I literally can't find anyone, no one to fight. I can't get a 1v1. I can't find anyone doing Slayer or doing Scorpia or Callisto. Obviously these clips are when I did eventually find someone, but they were not easy all to obtain because it just takes a very long time to search for people now. The main issue here, of course, is that there's less interest in the wilderness now. There's not a lot of people PKing, and there's less people doing wilderness-related activities. But a small little side issue that I think is a big problem as well is a few months ago when mobile came out, they added a lot more worlds to the game. And this is fine because there's a lot more players for mobile, but this makes it a lot harder to find people in the wilderness. Even if you're a PKer that wants to find other PKers, there's so many worlds now that it's really unlikely that you're going to find the other person on the same world as you. And there's also still a delay if you want to hop multiple worlds at a time. Once you hop maybe 7 or 8 worlds, there's a timer you have to wait for, and it does not allow you to hop worlds anymore. So you can't even check all of these new worlds very quickly. A lot of people have suggested them removing this world hop timer that can be quite annoying to deal with all these new worlds. Maybe they should just take away some of these new worlds as well because the hype of mobile is over and there's just not as many people as there was when it came out. So maybe there could be a reduction in some of these worlds. I think that would be a very good thing for the wilderness. Luckily, I do have some fun clips to show you guys today. Here are my 2 favorite areas to PK in, maybe the resource area and Scorpia. And I've gotten pretty good at dealing with this gate here. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go in and outside the gate and log out and such, but I can pretty much get this down to a science where I'm always hitting them at least once. Because I have the Wilderness Elite Diary done, I can go through the gate a lot of times without having to pay anything, which is a huge advantage because if I go through this gate like 6 times or something, that can add up a lot if you have to pay the full price for that gate. I think it's 10,000 coins, and I don't even need to bring coins with me, so it's an extra inventory space. I'm actually on the high risk world here, which is quite dangerous because if I was to die and a clan showed up, perhaps I would lose my Toxic Staff of the Dead, which is around 10 mil, and then all the other gear on me as well. I got really lucky there. I froze this guy right before the gate, so we have 20 seconds to try to deal the rest of the damage from his hit points. Let's see if I can do it. Kind of trying to be tricky here with the DDS, juking him out. Just need a couple more hits. If he gets in there, he's almost certainly going to live. But boom, 39, and he's dead. Let's take a look at the loot from both those kills combined. And holy crap, the Scorpia guy had a lot of runes on him. A trident as well, and a lot of dark crabs from this guy. Just 2 kills here for over 1 mil. It really shows that when the wilderness is active, PKing can be one of the most profitable forms of money making in the game, and also one of the most fun. Here's an interesting ethical dilemma for you guys. I'm curious to know what you guys would do in this situation. Look at the chat box. So I was PKing at Scorpia, and suddenly I see that someone just got a pet Chaos Elemental, so I'm going to run over. I figure if I'm going to PK someone for a pet, a Chaos Elemental is really not that severe. You can get this pet back within a couple days. I have a guide to do it with the Fanatic, which is extremely quick. This is one of the fastest pets in the game, so I don't think killing this guy would be that big of a deal. He could get this back very easily. It looks like he can afford the crossbow there, which makes it even easier. Unfortunately, it was almost impossible for me to do anything there. By the time I got to him, he was already standing in the obelisk ready to teleport. But that's the first time anything like that has happened to me, and it does make me wonder, what would you guys do if you were in that situation with another wilderness boss pet? Let's say someone got the Callisto pet, for example, but they were risking 5 mil. Would you decide to PK them, or would you let them go? I wouldn't blame you if you decide to PK them because it is the wilderness after all, but it's such a rare circumstance that I'm not sure how people would react. So I forgot to record this kill, but look at the loot from this. This kind of surprised me. I didn't even know this was in the loot pile. So someone lost wizard boots. Why would you bring those to Scorpia? Those are like +2 more mage. They're basically the ranger boots equivalent for magic, but they're actually not that good. They're good, but they're not great. And they're certainly not worth risking in the wilderness, so kind of funny what people risk. Probably an accident there. Right after the wizard boots guy, I found this guy who was really trying to escape by messing with the caves. He would go in one cave and then come out another cave, or he would stand at the exit to one cave and leave immediately when I entered. The strategy is really just understanding that when they're in the cave, they have nowhere to go. So if you stay outside the caves and only enter to just get one hit in, they really have nowhere to go. And this guy, because he didn't have D'hide or anything, he's very vulnerable to the rune crossbow. And a lot of Scorpia loot as well. When you add that to the wizard boots, we have almost 800k there, which is pretty nice. So here's a couple really profitable clips, which I think I just never really got around to including in a video for some reason. So the first one's pretty standard. Here's just a guy doing Scorpia. Again, we got the Zami robes. Not really a lot of chance to survive here unless he's got some really clever escape, which he certainly does not. He's not going to put up much of a fight, and eventually we can just barrage him here to finish him off. Not a whole lot of loot from this guy, just 300k, but certainly you never know what people are going to have, as we saw in the last clip. So continuing with the same PK trip, the next world I find 2 people doing Scorpia at once, and you have to pick one of them. I'm just going to go for the one that is right over here. He looks pretty vulnerable. He's got that sort of new wilderness staff, which I'm not sure if it's any good here. But this guy has an interesting thing. He's got Entangle with him, which is kind of strange. You don't usually see people with Entangle at Scorpia. Maybe he was using it to freeze Scorpia and they didn't have Ice Barrage or something. That's a possibility, but what actually ended up happening is his teammate showed up. So I'm actually in a little bit of trouble here. I'm in multi here. I got 2 food on me, 73 HP, and I got these guys both attacking me at the same time. So really the best thing I could do here would be to at least damage one of them a lot. And so the Zamorak robe guy is the obvious candidate for that, because in those robes I'm going to hit him almost every time. But I also want to get to single combat now that my Entangle timer has expired. And what I like to do in these situations is actually fight back while I'm brewing up. It means that my stats are going to be reduced and I'm not going to be hitting a lot. But you might as well get these free hits in while you can, because if you make them eat, maybe you'll have an extra chance to escape. So this guy, same thing, while brewing up and getting my stats back here, I'm going to make sure I get every hit I can, spam clicking him while he's kind of standing under me. Let's see if I can get a DDS in. Boom, 34-15, he's dead. The other guy says you're getting smoked as he dies. How ironic that he says that right as his teammate gets one hit. But I have to quickly get all this loot here, which is not easy when you're being attacked and you don't have a lot of food left either. Still going to fight back when I can, get the arrow shot in. And eventually I just ran into the magic axe set and I can safely X-lug here to escape. And I have a lot of loot on me. We got the looting bag, we got the inventory. Want to make sure I can escape here, and I hopped to another world, so luckily there was no one else to come and find me. Let's take a look at what I got. The Scorpia guy was clearly ready to PK because he had almost 2,500 ether on him, and he was risking an occult necklace, which is a lot to risk just for a normal Scorpia trip, so he was ready for a fight, but it did not work out well for him. Let's take a look at the looting bag as well. Another 580k in there, making this an almost 1.8 mil PK trip, which is really, really great. So as I show the next clip, I do want to address something that some people have been talking about recently, and that is a bounty hunter rework. So basically this is a post from January 23rd, 2019, and it talks about the bounty hunter rework that was actually pitched back in RuneFest 2018. And we have been waiting for a dev blog about this bounty hunter update for quite a long time, and they said here, a full dev blog can expected in the coming weeks. I actually read that correctly. It says a full dev blog can expected. It should be can be expected, but they did not proofread. And this was 14 weeks ago, and we are still waiting for that dev blog. In my opinion, it just kind of goes to show that Jagex does not make PvP a high priority, even though that one of the reasons that Old School came back in the first place was because people wanted the old combat system. People didn't want Old School back to train agility and stuff, maybe some weird people, but certainly the combat system is what makes Old School RuneScape so great, and the PvP side of that combat is really great as well, but we just aren't seeing many new updates coming for PvP, and the ones we do get are few and far between. And it just seems odd because they have been really pushing warding very heavily, trying to advertise it and trying to get people on board, and it's been met with almost nothing but resistance. So why are they focusing so much on something that most people do not like? I'm sure some people do like warding. I know some people do. And if you do, that's fine. But ultimately, it just seems like there's a huge disconnect between what the community wants and what Jagex wants to make. Personally, I don't really think they need to add new PvP updates. I think they need to fix the existing ones. In fact, I think that's the case for a lot of recent updates in Old School. It seems like the motto has been quantity over quality, We see so many updates in all departments of the game come out recently that are rushed or not tested properly and just feel repetitive, whereas they could actually just update some older content. For example, the normal spellbook could really use a buff. Currently, if you want to PK with Ancients, you have the spell in Ice Barrage, which freezes opponents for 20 seconds, and it could deal up to 40 damage with the right gear, whereas Entangle can do like 2 damage, and it's less accurate as well, and it only freezes you for 7 seconds if you have Prey Mage on. If they gave Entangle a little bit of a buff, it would make normal spellbook PKing more viable, and then you would have so much more variety in the game. Right now it's like playing Super Smash Bros. Melee if there was only one character you could use, because everyone has to use Ancients. You certainly can't PK with the Lunar or Arceus spellbook, so you have to go with Ancients, because normal spellbook by yourself, solo PKing like I usually do, is just not going to cut it, and you're giving yourself a huge disadvantage by trying it. It seems like they spend a lot of time addressing Deadman when really not many people play Deadman, and no matter how much time they put into it to try to fix it, it seems like it's always a disaster anyway. There's also been huge issues with ragging recently, and there's also a concern where certain clients are way too overpowered. We've seen videos of clients where they switch the prayers automatically for you. Obviously that's already not allowed, but people have been using them, which is a huge disadvantage for me because I just use Runelight. I've even heard of clients, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but apparently there are clients that can actually have a feature where you just put in someone's RuneScape name, and it will tell you what world they are on, what clan chat they are in, and where they are in the wilderness. If that's true, that could be the reason that so many Ultimate Iron Men have been being PK'd recently, which is normally fine. If you can find an Ultimate Iron Man and PK him fair and square, I have no problem with that. But if you have a client that tells you where he is, then that's really not fair at all. Let me know what PvP updates you guys think they should make in the comments, whether it's old content or new content. So that's going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Definitely leave a like if you agree with any of my opinions in this video, and you can also subscribe with bell notifications to see my new videos every Tuesday. You can join my clan chat, AndrewAJT62. We have people in there who go PKing quite often. You can also join our Discord down below. We have a PKing channel in there. You can follow me on Twitter down below for updates, and I'll follow you back if you play RS. You can follow me on Twitch down below. And lastly, you can support the channel on Patreon with the link in the end screen if you're feeling generous. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday.